Hi, I'm Dave, and I'm coming to you from the University of Idaho. I'm a designer and a design educator in our College of Art and Architecture. I'm an assistant professor of art and design. I teach interaction design for mobile devices and experiential design for the built environment. Today, my presentation is Deconstruct Reconstruct, the value of mimicking reverse engineering in UI/UX pedagogy. So I coordinate the interaction design emphasis area within our degree, and I'm going to be speaking about one studio, our introductory studio in interaction design, focused on mobile devices. So just to clarify, UI and UX design stands for user interface and user experience. UI designers work on how an interactive product is actually laid out. UX designers work on how that product feels and functions. Both are explored in my interaction design studio through 3 projects. So the takeaway here is mimicking reverse engineering improves learning outcomes. Now, if you Google image search reverse engineering, you'll get this soup of diagrams. Essentially, reverse engineering, we're taking something apart, we're looking at it, and we're putting it back together again to understand it. It's used in computer science to look at systems and architecture, but my students, we're just mimicking the process. And I say mimic because we're not looking at the code, we're just looking at screens, and the goal is documentation. So here are 3 projects. Deconstruction, the first quarter of the term. Students are researching an app. So here we have an example, Walt Disney World official app. This is the information I got from the store and a features list. I have them conjecture a user persona, right, which is a fictional use case. And I do want to point out it's conjectural at this point. It's an educated guess. So students, I have to get them to understand the space we're dealing with. We have a fixed array like page design or web design, but we're dealing with a vertical scroll, a feed, a horizontal scroll, a carousel. There's depth, right? You can pinch and zoom in and out. And you can also rotate both the screen as well as the device itself. So it's a multi-dimensional space, and I get students to get inside it by flattening it. I have students capture all screens on their device, and then we document those user flows in Adobe InDesign. I provide them with a set of gestures, which they use throughout. Every single screen is accounted for. And this is just like software documentation that engineers use. So there's annotations throughout. And anytime the user is leaving the app, the flow, it's indicated where they go as the camera here. And here are some learning objectives that you can come back to. The second project, second core of the term, is reconstruction. Students are now bringing forward what they learned in that first project, and they're going to redesign an app. So here's the Dungeons and Dragons companion app, detailed report as before. And now I have students conjecture 3 user personas based on a little bit of basic web research. So here's those 3 conjectured personas. And then they also develop a product design persona. That's an industry term for looking at the app product as an individual, as a person. So again, they document the user flows in InDesign, but we come into the prototyping software. So Adobe Creative Cloud, that's our ecosystem at my university. We use their XD tool. And if you've never been in a prototyping tool, it resembles documented user flows. It's fluid and multi-screen. But students have already laid this out manually in InDesign in the first project. So they come in ready to use the space. Here's the new identity and so forth for the redesigned app. A new onboarding, which reflects the improved feature set. And the new screens follow Google's material design. I have students design for the device they have, whether it's Android or iOS. And again, here are the learning objectives you can come back to. The third project is from midterm to final, construction. Students are designing their own new app. And they're, again, rolling forward what they learned in the first 2 projects. So learning's accelerated because it's the 3rd time that they're tackling this. They come from concepts on paper to screen layouts, all the way to a live prototype app. So here's a project summary. Looks like the earlier reports. Tend is like a Nest device. It's a monitoring device for a wood burning stove. It monitors your fuel usage. So here's the design persona, the identity and graphic language. And students bring in actual research in this 3rd project. They conduct interviews to develop their personas, and they conduct a user testing session. So here are personas based on interviews. And they develop a live prototype in the XD software that they use to conduct their user testing session. 5 users by 5 questions, about 25 data points. And this is just a smaller version of what folks do in industry, okay? And then they come back and they revise their design based on the feedback they got. So the students simplified the onboarding because it was found to be confusing. They also added variety and data visualization because that's what testers wanted. So here's some learning objectives I can just leave you with. Mimicking reverse engineering, it improves learning outcomes because the students take apart the app and document and then put it back together again, okay? They get a deeper understanding and they do more so quickly. By the third project, they're really confident to get in there and do the research side because they're not overwhelmed by the concepts in the software. And I have just some takeaways for you. Thank you very much.